Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, check out the series. You know what to do. Like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, doing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover the new ones at iTunes and Apple Podcasts, at Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, WFPK.org, or of course, right here on YouTube for the video versions. I'm Kyle Meredith, and today I've actually got a special audio version, audio-only version. I'm catching up with David Draiman of Disturbed. They released a brand new record just late last year called Divisive. And sort of is the album of our time, telling the story of what's going on in the country, around the world, of course, through their own lives and through the pandemic as well. So I'm going to talk to David about how these themes are represented in the album. We're also going to talk about some of the lighter stuff, like the duets that he has on the record with Ann Wilson from the band Hearts. Although I say lighter, the song was originally written to sort of tell the story of Dan's divorce. And now, as David tell you, he's recently gone through one of his own. So there's a bit of a new context to the song that he's going to be singing. Speaking of going to be singing, they're about to hit their tour. It was kind of put off for a little bit until, it's about to come up here actually in a few weeks. But we get to hear a little bit about the tour. In fact, there's some surprises. He said there's some things that he thinks has never been done before. So we're going to get into all that and a whole lot more. We're talking Divisive. It's Kyle Meredith with David Draiman of Disturbed.
How you doing, Kyle?
First off, excited that you guys are back on tour very, very soon and behind an extremely powerful record with Divisive. I feel like this is the record of the era right now. I mean, I don't know when you went into it, if you meant to paint the picture of, the world and society and all that, but how did that part come about for you? I mean, I know there's the songwriting side of thing and the music side, but for what this record comes to represent, was that always on your mind?
It's been on my mind for quite a number of years now, considering the kind of madness we've all been experiencing, and this, I don't even know what you want to call it anymore. Are we in the pre-pandemic era? Is it official? I mean, I don't even know.
Well, that's, I was just thinking of that too. It's like, there's something about having a new Disturbed record come out that makes me think that if there's a Disturbed record in the world, it probably means that things aren't going well.
Either that or things are going too well. It's one of the opposite extremes. So,
I guess the easy question here is then what still pushes you all to create? And I ask that in the sense that you have been around a little over 20 years, coming up on 25 years now. You could rest on your laurels like any band, but here you do have something that is speaking to something. Like, what still pushes you all to make this?
Therapy. It's as pure and simple as that, right? Right now, for me, it's the most effective form of therapy. I am very much looking forward to the performance end of things, which is coming up shortly. But the creative end is the perfect way to come to terms with your demons, and I'm definitely stocked up. I need this, and I need the music, creating it, performing it, living it right now more than I ever have. I mean, I just recently finalized my divorce. I just recently said goodbye to my Akita, my best friend of 14 years. There's going to be plenty of inspiration for the next body of work. Battling depression, battling all the demons that normally come along with it. And I know that music, our music, other music like it, and different types of music in general is just the perfect means of therapy for so many other people. And it really is my saving grace. I don't know what I would do without it.
You write it for yourself, but eventually that message, is heard by fans. And let me throw that in a different way, actually, before I get to that part, because as you're using this for therapy, I mean, do you find that it does the purpose that you need it to do?
In a way that nothing else really can, truth be told. I think it'll be definitely more helpful for me once I'm out on the road again. And that, like I said, that's coming up soon. the time in between right now is difficult,
Right.
to say the least.
Yeah.
But you do what you need to do, and you look at the light that is getting closer and closer as you approach it, and that's the way that I'm looking at it right now. I mean, people often make the claim that success and no longer having to struggle can take the inspiration or the driving force or the fire away from a band at this stage of the game. Struggle is defined in many ways, and it takes many different shapes and forms. And I think almost the entirety of the band at this point has now had to endure our own individual struggles throughout the pandemic, throughout the lives we've had to lead during it, the many sacrifices we've made to do what we love. There's any number of aspects of this that the life experience, whether we like it or not, is keeping fresh inspirational material flowing again and again and again.
Right.
And definitely with this, with the future, I probably need it more than I ever have. So
that really puts some lines into a different spotlight here. Like I'm looking at, like lead off track, Hey You. The closest mirror reveals the true enemy staring back at you. And that's one of those moments, as a listener, I think, and not that it has to be either or, but like, is he talking to himself or is he talking to us on this one?
I think it's an us and myself. I think that we're all guilty of this. I think that we are all our own worst enemy. We all take the bait. Life and social media as a awkward and bizarre reflection of life has been a perfect catalyst for that. The 2 years being removed from everyone and everything drove everyone down their respective rabbit holes. They had this wonderful curse that we use every day of our lives called the internet to go ahead and just throw ourselves into and indulge every potential fantasy and theory and try to come to terms with why everything wrong was happening in our lives or why everything right is. But it definitely, I've never experienced a time where people have been more addicted to instant outrage. I've never experienced a time where people have been more, polarized. I can't remember it. And I think that all of these technological tools that we now have at our disposal are fanning the flames. They make hatred and doubt and things of that nature, the darker side of things, so much easier to spread. and whether it's legitimate or not, and so this record was a reflection and a wake-up call, or meant to be, not just for us as individuals, but for us as a society, that we have been pitted against one another by people who are gaining from that. And we continue to do it. We continue to fall prey to it. And we continue to find reasons to, clench the fist as opposed to outstretch the open hand. And it's dangerous, what's continued to develop over the course of these past number of years. I mean, we're seeing the effects of it in real time in the world around us. It's dark times, man. And this record definitely reflected the way all of us have been feeling about it.
And we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. It's Kyle Meredith with David Draiman of Disturbed. And looking at Love to Hate seems like a mantra of all of it. And I don't mean mantra, obviously, in the good way. It just seems to define. But like even... and I'm not trying to flip what you said over, but because I completely agree on social media addiction and the outrage addiction and everything. But and what, when I look at yours, especially of lately, you also use that platform to put the spotlight on something. Anti-Semitism, specifically lately, is something I hear a little bit in the news. I'm not Jewish. I'm not faced with that daily. And so seeing something like that, it's like, and you show a lot of links, and it really does open up where I go, holy fuck, what
Yeah.
have I been missing here? So, I'll only point out that, me getting on social media to see what you're saying has actually done something positive, at least.
Well, I'm happy about that. Thank you. It makes me feel a little bit better about it.
That's, and it does bring me also back to the other line in Hey You, where the repeating line at the reprise at the end of it, there's too many of us. There's too many of us. What were you meaning when you were saying that?
There's too many of us who realize the damage that we continue to do to ourselves and our world, yet we keep doing it.
Am I recontextualized, taken out of context? And excuse me, I'm going to go back to the very first hit with Down with the Sickness, because it feels like some of the stuff that you were talking about in that song was prophetic in the worst ways.
Yeah, people fear and judge that which is different from them. Yeah, people treat the ones who stand apart as outcasts, not embraced. They're not welcomed into the fold. And boy, did we see that multiplied 100 million fold over the course of the past number of years. I mean, so it, I really don't like being prophetic in that way, to be honest.
I worry about some of the things too. God, how do you worry about anything? Because you're worried about everything. But like, Take Back Your Life. You've got that track, and I think that's maybe even the name of part of the tour. And I look at that and I think, here's something. It's a direct message, and depending on who you are, is going to mean something different. Now that goes with all the songs, but it feels like there are some lines that are unintentionally armed in ways that we never expected, like that. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. I don't think that there's a small ulterior motive necessarily, but I would say this entire record is armed in a sense. I think that or at least I was trying to be as much reflective on, things that I myself have been guilty of in certain ways as well as society as a whole. So it's going to hit people differently depending on how they resonate to different parts of it. And I think that that's the beauty of it. I think that it's going to resonate with different people, with their different experiences, with their different life experiences, in a common way.
I was talking to my wife, and I said, because we want individual freedom, and if I'm speaking on the divisive part of it, the two sides, in this game, in that game, both sides say they want individual freedom, and we want to make sure everyone is taken care of. And to me, that's where it gets a little murky right there. When I hear yeah, right. And when I hear Take Back Your Life, I thought that's what I was thinking about when I was like, oh, depending on how you feel about that second part of that line, and we want to make sure everyone else is taken care of. That's where a line like that starts to change depending on the listener, which is interesting.
I hear you. Yeah. I think everybody's got to just be able to do what they need to do in their own way.
And we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. It's Kyle Meredith with David Draiman of Disturbed. I'm still complimenting you with all of that we just said about this songwriting and how it is reflective. And I know it's not all about that. You have a track like Don't Tell Me. By the way, great duet with Ann Wilson.
Thank you.
Yeah. As a songwriter, how helpful is it to have a conversation within a song, a duet in this instance?
It wasn't originally meant to be that way. The song wasn't originally written as a duet. It was just written as one person speaking to begin with. And as we went, and I had originally sang it all the way through. But when we started listening back to it, it started feeling more like a back and forth or a conversation. And Ann and I we had spoken online quite a while back about potentially collaborating on something in the future, and listening back to the song, and I just said to my guitar player, I said to Danny, I'm like, I think this is it. Like, we should ask her to sing on this. It seems so appropriate. So, I took a shot in the dark, and she agreed, and here we are. I'm about to shoot the video for the song this upcoming Tuesday, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Now, and I'm not trying to get personal here. I think I read that you were like, this is from Dan's divorce. Like, it comes here?
Yeah. Mine hadn't been finalized yet. And to be honest, when I wrote the song, I didn't realize how prophetic it was going to be. Like I said, I kind of hate that shit. It ended up becoming, not just about Dan's divorce, unfortunately.
Right.
It wasn't exactly the same situation, but I definitely have added reverence for the song, and it has added meaning and power to me, especially now.
I even thought, obviously happening before that, that's got to be real trust between you and Dan, to be able to tell that story in your voice, of his side.
For sure. And I think we trust one another as far as that is concerned, certainly. We're, as far as the bands go, I mean, we've probably known each other longer than, most people have known their, significant others or best friends in their lives. I mean, so we really are still quite close with each other. And it helps in that sense. Mm-hmm. So I think that when you're going to wear your heart on your sleeve, you got to kind of do it with somebody you trust. So I've always tried to be as careful with that as possible, because it's fragile.
Does this, having Ann on there, I know is sort of the first time you guys have had a guest spot like this on your album.
Yes.
Does that open the door a little bit? I mean, could you see, I was thinking I wonder if like a full EP, like the guest EP,
I would love to do more guest stuff. I love collaborating. I love bringing other artists into the fold. I know it's not something we traditionally did as Disturbed. There was a long time where we really kind of just viewed things that it should be about the purity of the four members and not really tempered by anything else. But after me doing my little side project I did back in the day, the Device thing, and working with so many other people, and having the opportunity to work with so many more after that, and still loving to get involved in production and co-writing with other artists. I mean, I look forward to doing more real collaborations where we can meld our artistry with other artists. I think there's a lot to offer in the future.
And as a fan, that's super exciting. I love hearing that. I want to see that come to fruition.
Amen.
Yeah. And so this all, arrives at the doorsteps of this tour. We're finally getting the tour. And I know you guys have had a while to cook up the show. I mean, so we have a heavy message on the album from the entertainment side. I mean, what can we expect this time around?
Well, I just got off the phone with one of our production designers actually yesterday, going over some of the details. And I know we're definitely loving our pyro. I know we're pulling out some tricks and some new ideas that, to the best of my knowledge, haven't been done before. So we're really trying to think outside the box. We didn't want to make this look like a carbon copy of other tours. We're really being very careful with our staging and how we're assembling everything. And it's fun, at the Frankenstein stage of this thing. You're just kind of putting the monster together, and it's going to be a sight. Right. And it's going to be a feast for the senses. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. So I got to ask, I mean, things that haven't been done before, are you able to elaborate on that?
I cannot, because we have to make sure that legally we're allowed to do all of it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a hell of a setup.
We're working on it. Yeah.
not that covers are a huge part of it, but I always love when you throw those in. Obviously, you've got a couple that you're famous for, and you seem to drop those in for the tours. I was, looking at those opportunities from this record, and even same title, different song type of thing. Won't Back Down, Hey You. Do you take those opportunities? Hey, you could throw. There's the Pink Floyd. There's the Tom Petty. You put them together. Like, do you think about those moments from a live show's point of view?
I love having, additional improvisational moments, covers we pull out of our pocket, pulling out guest artists from time to time who we may know in the area to come and perform with us live. I love doing all those things. So, and that can certainly be a part of what's in the cards for the upcoming tour.
All right. Well, like everybody else, I'll be waiting to see what that all means when we're actually in person for this. David, thank you so much for take the time to talk about this. And again, it's great to have you guys back with a brand new record like this.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Looking forward.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.